Here's what I think. Hi, my name is Emma, aka Midsummer Knits, and I make videos about knitting and fiber arts. Today's video is going to be testing out and reviewing the caydo icord knitting machine. This is actually going to be a fully electric knitting machine, so as opposed to needing to do the crank by hand, this one will actually do everything for you. So you kind of just need to get it set up, and then it's just going to do all of the knitting for you. There's not really any action needed on your end. I do want to say before we get started, for transparency's sake, that this video is sponsored by caydo, but this is going to be a completely honest review from me, so I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm going to tell you the truth about what I think about this tool and whether I think it's worth it to buy. So this is going to be a completely honest first impression and review of my experience using the icord knitter. So before we get into me testing out the icord knitter, I do want to give a quick explanation of what icord is for anyone who might not be aware. So icord is a technique used in knitting, which is basically exactly what it sounds like, because it is used to make a cord. As you can see, this is a cute little fish pouch that I made recently. The pattern is the Ribka pouch by Rat and Sea Witch, but as you can see at the top here, we have this icord that is being used to close the pouch. And icord, as you can see, it kind of looks like it's just knit all the way around, like it's knit in the round, but it's like a very, very thin or very small number of stitches that are knit in the round. So the way the icord is usually knit is essentially what you're going to do is you're going to cast on a small number of stitches. Usually it's around 3 to 5 stitches, and you're basically just going to spend the entire time making icord knitting across the stitches that you've cast on, and then moving the stitches back to the left-hand needle, pulling the yarn to the front of the work, and then continuing to knit straight across. Essentially what this does is it's going to kind of make it so that you're knitting in the round. So when you're pulling the yarn across the back of the work, it's kind of like you're moving from the end of the round to the front of the round, and you just want to make sure and pull that yarn pretty tight so that it does actually create the cord effect. And honestly, I feel like the reason that there's so many icord knitters out on the market right now is that most knitters do not really enjoy making icord. For me, I just find that it is not the most fun process. It's a lot of moving the stitches around, a lot of not really getting into a flow state. You're kind of just moving the stitches back and forth and then knitting like 3 stitches, and that's the only amount of knitting that you actually get. It's just not the most fun experience. So I personally have tested out an icord knitter in the past. I've tested out a non-electric one, so it's just like a handheld crank, and honestly I liked that one. I think that it was awesome that you didn't have to actually knit the icord by hand, because like I mentioned, I don't enjoy the process of knitting icord. But I did think it was interesting that caydo has a totally electric icord knitter, and I wanted to try out how this would work. So this is a package I received from caydo. As you can see, it's pretty ridiculously large, and that is because they sent me the electric icord knitting tri-cotton machine i1 Pro Max. I know that's a mouthful. Essentially, the thing that they sent me is not just the icord knitting machine, but it is also a kit with like the starter tools that you would need if you wanted to start knitting with icord more and also start making certain icord projects. For example, if you've seen kind of like the wire names and wire shapes that a lot of people make, I've seen a lot of that on Instagram. This icord knitting kit, in my opinion, is going to be helpful for that. So let's unbox this together. Like I mentioned, there is more than just the icord knitting machine in this kit. Obviously in the center here, we do have the icord knitter itself, but then it comes with a bunch of acrylic yarn, ton of different colors, which is really nice if you are not a fiber artist or just don't have a ton of yarn. It also comes with pliers and some wire, which is going to be really important if you're making any sort of like wire icord crafts. It comes with these, they were listed on the website as plastic sealing accessories. I could not for the life of me figure out what they do. And then it comes also with a crochet hook and this sheet, which has some ideas on what shapes you could do if you wanted to make icord wire shapes. So lots of different supplies. It's not just the icord knitter by any means if you get the Pro Max. Hi guys, Editing Emma here. I'm here because I previously filmed a segment of the video where I was comparing the prices of the normal icord knitter with the caydo icord knitters, and turns out that's actually inaccurate because I got a discount code from caydo, so you'll be able to get the best price for the icord knitting machine. So For the normal icord knitter, which I've tested out in the past, it's around $50. It can kind of like change price depending on if there are discounts or where you're buying it from, but from what I've seen, it's around $50. For the Caydo icord Pro, with my discount, I have a 20% discount for Mother's Day, so that's from May 5th to May 11th. You can get it for $72. That's including shipping versus it's originally $90. And that includes all of the stuff that I showed you guys in the kit. So all of the yarn, the wire, all the different tools that you get alongside the icord knitter itself. If you just want the icord knitter itself, with my discount for Mother's Day, it will be $48 with $10 shipping, so $58, which is honestly not even that much more than a normal non-electric icord knitter. Also, if you're watching this video not during the period of time that I mentioned, I will still have a 15% off discount. So whichever discount is going to be best for you can use, but I will have a 20% off discount for that period of time for Mother's Day, so make sure you check that out while it's still running. Depending on if you want to receive all of these extra like starting bits, that is going to be a big difference in price. In my opinion, if you are a fiber artist and you're just looking to buy this icord knitter to make icord related to knitting projects, crochet projects, etc., I don't think you actually need the Pro Max version of this kit because it does come with, like I mentioned, a bunch of acrylic yarn. It comes with some wire and just like different crafting supplies that you probably already have as a knitter or a fiber artist. So in my opinion, if you are a knitter or a fiber artist looking to buy this, just the machine itself, then I would recommend to just buy the machine and not to get the Pro Max. But I do think if you are wanting to start out in making icord kind of as a craft on its own a lot more and making more of these like wire shapes and icord specific projects, then I could see this being a reasonable purchase to make. I just think it really depends on the kind of person you are and what you're looking to use the machine for. Sorry if my angle keeps changing. I've been doing some close-up shots of me unboxing. I just opened the icord knitting machine. As I showed you guys, it came with a ton of yarn and a ton of other supplies, but I opened the icord knitting machine itself, and first of all, she is very cute. I am really happy that it came with multiple color options because purple is my absolute favorite color, and I'm really excited to have a purple icord knitting machine. But so as you can tell, it comes with the main machine. It's really nice. You don't have to like assemble anything, but it also comes with these weights, which I'm also familiar with from trying out an icord knitting machine in the past. And then it comes with a couple of other tools. So first of all, it comes with the actual plug that you need because like I mentioned, this is electric. It's gonna actually do all the work for you. And then it comes with a little screwdriver. So within the icord knitting machine, hopefully you can see there are little hooks inside the machine. So it also comes with, in here, there are a few spare hooks, which I'm assuming these are for in case your machine breaks, you can replace them. It also comes with a crochet hook. And then lastly, it did also come with another ball of yarn. Let's go ahead and try this thing out. You do have to actually attach it to a table or some sort of hard surface. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch camera angles. Okay, I'm getting the icord knitter set up. The first thing that you need to do is get it clipped to a table, which you can see here I've done. It's definitely gonna work best if you have a nice and normal square table. Unfortunately, I am lacking in tables, but I think this should work fine. Instead of using the yarn that they gave me, I'm gonna be using this yarn that I have. It's some leftovers from my Heartless top. The reason I wanna use this yarn is so I can make some bows for my bag, just to like tie on either side. I think it'll be really cute. I've already made them in purple and I think they're super cute. And I just wanna make sure that I'm gonna use the color I'm actually gonna use. I'm gonna use my own yarn. You do wanna use yarn that's going to be more in that medium weight range, so kind of in between like sport weight to worsted weight or possibly Aran weight. If you use anything that's either thinner or thicker, it just might not work and it might break your machine, so you want to be careful with that. Something I do like about Caydo already is that they do have really detailed instructions on how to get this machine set up. They have pictures. You can also scan a QR code in the instruction manual to see video tutorials, which is a lot nicer than some of the other knitting tools I've used. I feel like with the last icord knitting machine that I tried out, it was a little bit of a struggle to figure out how to use it, and I had to kind of look up YouTube tutorials and things to teach myself, so this is super helpful that they have all of this prepared for you. I'm just going to quickly voice over the setup steps that I'm doing here, but they do have very detailed instructions on how you do this. So the first thing you're going to do is put your yarn through this hole here, And then as you can see within the knitting machine, there's also a white tube. So you're going to thread the yarn through that as well. They've also provided you with a crochet hook with the hole in the end of it, which you can use to help you with this. But I'm a bit lazy, so I'm going to skip that. So I'm going to put that yarn through there and it's going to come out from the bottom of the knitting machine. Next thing you want to do is make sure that each of the hooks inside this machine are open. I see that a couple of mine are not, so I'm going to try and get those open just with my fingers. If you guys did watch my video about the icord manual knitter, this is actually the same setup as the manual knitter for the electric knitter. I think you basically are just going to do the setup steps and then we're going to use the electric portion of the knitter. But essentially we're going to start turning this. We're going to catch the first hook on the yarn and then we're going to skip the next hook. All right, skip the next hook, catch the third one, and then miss out on the last hook as well. So we want to push that yarn behind the last hook. That is going to be the setup. Then we're just going to do one more manual turn. So you're going to be tensioning the yarn this whole time at the bottom. Just do one more manual turn to get the yarn on every single hook on the next turn. The next step is to put weights on the end of the yarn and then we can actually start using the electric portion of the icord knitter. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the weights. Here are the weights. As you can see, if you press down on the weight, it's going to form a hole, so then you can slip the yarn through there. I also read through the instructions and it explains why you want to have the two different weights. Essentially, it's if you're making a lot of icord, you can readjust one of the weights to be higher on the icord while the other one is still weighing down and tensioning the yarn. So this is just going to be basically for if you're knitting, if you're making a lot of icord, because you know it might be like longer than the length between your table and the ground, and then you will need to readjust the weights while you're doing it. Okay, my camera battery died for a little bit, but we are back and we are going to go ahead and test out actually using the electric part of the knitting machine. So let's go ahead and give it a whirl. I am excited. Oh my gosh. And it's working. One thing that I noticed, I'm going to turn it off quickly. One thing that I noticed is that my yarn is kind of moving around. So I do think it'd be helpful if you had a yarn bowl or something along those lines to put your yarn in a yarn bowl so that it will draw more evenly and more easily. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my yarn bowl type of things and we'll try that out. Okay, I've got my yarn bowl. I'm hoping that this will just make it so that the yarn will pull more easily and the ball won't be moving around a ton when I am running the icord maker. So let's try it. That's working a lot better, but I think you do just need to make sure that your yarn is in a place where it is going to be easily pulled from, because if it gets stuck, then the machine is going to stop, which obviously is for the best so you don't break your machine, but you just want to make sure that your yarn is able to be easily pulled from. Something else that's nice to note about the icord knitter is that you don't actually need to use it as an electric icord knitter. You can use it as a manual icord knitter like so. You would just be using this crank here instead of using the machine. So I like that there's the ability to do that. If for some reason you didn't have power or you just didn't want to use the electric component for a bit, you could always do this and you have the functionality of a normal icord knitter as well. Okay, I'm back. Sorry if the angles have changed around a little bit, but as you guys saw, I did do the icord knitting and I'm really happy with how these came out. I think they just look very nice and even. I do love that the icord looks super nice and even. I feel like this definitely looks more even than any icord that I have knit by myself. I feel like the icord I've knit by myself tends to look a little bit twisted when it gets to like a longer length, and it just looks a lot more nice and neat. One thing that I have noticed, and this is the case with all icord knitters, is that for kind of the beginning of the icord, it does look a little bit messier. I do think it looks a little bit less nice than a hand knit icord. The beginning is just going to look a lot cleaner, but honestly I think that's a small thing, especially if you are knitting kind of like a longer icord or anything. the single like end of it that is the beginning, in my opinion, is not that big of a deal. I'm gonna go ahead and tie these I-cords that I made onto my purse to show you guys the vision that I had for this project. Okay guys, we did it, and I think this is actually like the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I think this would be so cute, especially if you have a pop of red in your outfit, just to have these bows on here. I really like this too because you can totally personalize the colors that you're doing. You can also switch out the bows if you just want something that's going to match your outfit really well. For example, I mentioned that I already have some light purple bows that I've done this with in the past, and I've used it to like tie little bows in my headphones too. I think it's really cute, and it's such a fun way to use a little bit of spare I-cord. But you know, to be honest, if I didn't have an I-cord knitting machine, I never would have done this, so I'm really happy that I got this machine. Also, am I the only person who has watched this video called How to Tie the Perfect Bow like 20 times? Because I feel like I've done little projects within this in the past that have bows on them, or I've needed to like wrap a present, and I've watched this video on how to tie the perfect bow like 10 times. And at the end she always says, and there you have it, a perfect bow. And I just love that. Like that's like a little like vocal stim to me. Anyways, sorry, that was an unrelated tangent, but I would love to give you guys some of my closing thoughts on the caydo I-cord knitter and whether or not I think it's worth it. Here's what I think. I think that if you are looking to buy an I-cord knitter of any type, either a manual one or an electric one, I do think that this is a good choice because I have tested out the normal manual I-cord knitter in the past and I liked it, but I think that this I-cord knitter is a small price to pay more than the other I-cord knitter I've tried out, which is just the manual one, and you get a lot more features. So this I-cord knitter is going to be $60, and obviously, like I showed, it has the electric knitting capability. So you're going to be able to just make a lot more I-cord if you want that option a lot faster, and you're also going to be able to kind of multitask. So like I could be running this, making I-cord in the background while I'm watching a YouTube video or doing something else, and I just don't need to be like very focused on it. I just need to check on it every once in a while. Versus with the manual I-cord knitter, obviously that is still better in my opinion than knitting I-cord manually, but you still do need to be turning the crank yourself. The nice thing about this I-cord knitter as well is that you do have the option to do the manual I-cord knitting if for whatever reason you want to. You can just turn this crank as opposed to using the on button. So you have all of the features of the manual I-cord knitter as well as the electric capability, and it's only like a small price more. So in my opinion, I do think it's worth it if you are looking for an I-cord knitter. I can definitely see that you just don't make a lot of I-cord and you don't really see the need to get an I-cord knitter. But for me personally, I do think it's worth it to have an I-cord knitter because I just really can't stand the process of making I-cord, and I do a lot of different projects that sometimes involve making a copious amount of I-cord. Like there was a project I did called the Made You Look Tank where you had to knit like several feet of I-cord. If I had had this I-cord knitter for that project, that would have been amazing. I also do think if you are looking to just get into I-cord as like a craft on its own, because I do know a lot of people do kind of like wire name signs and cute little shapes that they make out of I-cord with wire. I think that this makes sense to purchase for sure. And in that case, if you are not a fiber artist and you're just looking to get into this as a separate hobby, I think it could make sense to get their pro version, which has the entire kit that I showed you guys at the beginning with yarn and wire and different tools in it. However, I do think if you're just a fiber artist looking to get this, you probably don't need the pro kit because it has all that yarn, all the wire that you probably are not going to need as a fiber artist. That's just my opinion. It is $20 more for the pro kit, so it's up to you if you think that's worth it or if you want those additional pieces of the kit. But for me personally as a fiber artist, I feel like I didn't necessarily need the pro kit and I just needed the knitter itself. So those are my thoughts on the caydo electric I-cord knitter. I also do have a discount code from caydo, which I will put on the video as well as in the description if you'd like to use that. I really appreciate you guys supporting me. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and you found it informative. If you guys like this video, you can also subscribe to me. I am extremely close to 6,000 subscribers, so I would really appreciate it. And otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye.